Hi friends, David here from Above AVL and Learn Stage Lighting. And in this video, we're pumped, we're excited because we're continuing talking about choosing a lighting console, which is a topic we talk about a lot here. If you're not familiar, it's a big topic. And in this video, we're talking about professional grade lighting consoles, okay? And so the first thing we got to do, the title of the video is how do I pick a professional grade lighting console? We will get there. However, before we get there, we've got to talk about how do you know that you should get a professional lighting console versus a PC software that's maybe more geared towards non-professionals, a standalone controller. You know, we went through in our last video, which we'll link to below on the screen everywhere we can. We'll QR code it, all that jazz. We talked about the 80J WMX, which we love as a great little entry-level lighting controller. We talked about my DMX5, also a great option. Light key, pretty good option, especially if you're already a Mac person. Now we're talking about professional grade lighting consoles. Of course, if you know us here, you know that I've got an Onyx console in front of me and we use Onyx a lot. However, we're going to talk about more than just Onyx in this video. We're going to cover all the pro grade lighting consoles, or at least a lot of them. So first things first, how do you know when it's time to go to a professional grade lighting solution? Primarily what we're thinking about here is there's kind of two parts, right? Because there's going to be software and there's going to be hardware, okay? On most of the lower level stuff, especially if you're on a PC, your hardware experience is never going to be as good as a actual console that has physical hardware. Meaning that if you're doing a good bit of, real deal programming, right? I'm actually just gonna bump this over a little bit. Real deal programming, what you're gonna find is that having the ability to select lights both on the screen and via like a keypad here, you can work very quickly in manipulating lights, moving the encoder wheels, and then storing them into your console itself. That is a real key benefit of a professional grade lighting console. The others are going to be that you're able to work with large amounts of fixtures, usually in a much better, much more quick way and without a lot of limitations. Processing wise, of course, you're generally able to process as many DMX universes as you're probably going to need, which some of these, smaller systems are not going to be as good at. And if you go with an actual console like the NX1 here, then you are using a stripped down operating system that's designed to do one thing and do one thing well, and that is run the console. There's no extra stuff in there, and generally consoles without any real, help stay really reliable, really fast throughout their entire usable life. As long as the hardware keeps working, you generally can get, 10 to 20 years out of a console. A physical console. With a PC-based system, you may be switching out that PC multiple times, uninstalling, reinstalling, wiping it if it gets stuff on it. You can maintain a PC well and have it run a long time and have it run a lighting console for a long time. I'm not saying it's not possible. It just does take a little more effort than working with a console. Those are some of the reasons why to go up to a console. And you'll know that you're kind of outpacing like the intermediate level lighting consoles if you find that you're in there, you're programming, and you're banging your head against the wall because you're like, man, this is really slow to select all the lights I want and get them doing the thing that I want. Maybe there's a lot of mouse clicking and it just gets really slow. Or it might be that there's things that you really are looking to do. Okay, one of those is called cloning. Okay, cloning is something that professional grade consoles pretty much are usually the only thing that has. And it's you walk into a venue, you have a show file with your lights programmed into it. There's new lights in the show. How do you get them in? Well, cloning allows you to take something that's already in your show, copy everything, or just parts, honestly, into your cloned show file. And so that means you have an excellent starting point on your program. And this is something that pretty much none of the lower level consoles have. True, the WMX one, which we love, it's sitting around here somewhere, here it is, offers a group functionality where you dump everything in groups. And so new fixtures can be added instantly. but it's a little more difficult to modify them to do individualized things, okay? And so when you have a lot of individual fixture programming, when you're working with a lot more fixtures, I usually say the intermediate level stuff, taps out at around 50, 60 fixtures. That's when it's like, you know what? This is a little bit cumbersome for this software. I need to jump up to something a little more professional grade. Okay, so then once you decide, hey, I'm ready for the professional grade, how do you choose the right console? And how do you choose the right form factor, right? Because obviously I'm here, right? I'm here in Onyx, as I said, and this is an NX1, kind of a middle of the road Onyx solution. Okay, it's their bottom tier console, but you can take this software right here, Onyx. Actually, I've got it here on my PC running right now, literally running the background here. It's on a settings screen. And you can run the same software on that PC, right? That's going to run on the console. Okay. So the biggest thing with PC versus console, there's a couple, right? The first, as I noted, is that you are going to have to, keep it offline, make sure you're doing your Windows updates at times that make sense in between runs of shows, keeping the console updated, making sure people really aren't using other apps. It's generally a good idea to keep it clean. Don't be using other apps. Don't be surfing the internet, etc. And then you can have a console-based solution that will work well for a long time. Of course, if you do rental type use, you're not controlling all the operators. Generally, most rental places are going to go, okay, console, 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 because it just makes sense. It's just a lot easier. Consoles have some other advantages besides just the cleanliness and the reliability side just of the installation, okay? And that is the hardware that you've got going on. Right, so like this Onyx NX1 is fantastic, right? Because you've got all of these faders and buttons, and I've got the NXK sidecar, which we pretty much always recommend with an NX1. And, the integration between the hardware and the software is just absolutely seamless, right? There's never any, oh, got to get my mouse out and click over this window. Oh, got to click over to that. Oh, a lot of consoles, not Onyx as much, but a lot of the other consoles, you have to constantly have up a window that looks like the console and press different buttons on your mouse, or they're kind of small on your touch screen. And that's not great. In Onyx, you do have your command keypad that a lot of times is helpful to use. You can dock it in a window on a PC. Having a physical one is better. And having a console is going to be the most seamless, the quickest way to program. However, if budget's more of a concern, you could totally do a PC, and you can do, an NXW, which is coming out. It's new. You can do, at the time of this recording, the NXP and the NXK, and get something similar to this layout in a PC setup. Okay. And so when it comes down to it, that's another reason you go, okay, I might go to a professional grade console because of the playback controls, having really well integrated playback controls that I just plug and play, no MIDI mapping, etc. So how do you choose the right professional grade lighting console for your needs? Okay, it's no secret that obviously here at Above AVL and we're in Stage Lighting, we love Onyx. Like, it's a great console, great software. Is it perfect for everyone? No, it's not, right? And so there's a couple things that are really going to guide your decision. Okay, the first thing I would look hard at is if you're going to use it on a PC at all, even if you're not using it for shows, even if you're just using it for pre-programming, you're on a plane and you want to program some stuff and bring it into your console. I would argue that when you compare Onyx to the other consoles kind of at its level, and we can sell you pretty much any of this stuff at Above AVL, so I don't necessarily have a bias here in terms of like, okay, this person's a rep for this brand or that brand. Like we could sell you Camsys, we could sell you Avo. It's not on our site. We're not direct dealers, but we can get a good price on it. We're dealers for Grand MA. And so we could sell you any of this stuff, right? So why do we choose Onyx? Well, as I was mentioning, the difference between the PC version and an actual physical console is very small. Okay, show files move over really well. The PC programming and playback experience is not kind of like second compared to the regular console. It is absolutely comparable and is really excellent. Okay. And so that's one of the reasons why we like it so much. Another is just simply the cost, right? Because I mean, we're talking, the main competitors are going to be Hog and Avo and Camsys between, Onyx, right? Those are kind of the 3 or 4 consoles that are kind of at the same type of price points and, have similar feature sets and abilities. And I would argue again, Onyx wins at the PC experience across all of them. And on the console side as well, if you're just comparing spec for spec, they give you a lot for your dollar. They really do. They really cram in, a lot of output, a lot of features, a lot of abilities, playback controls, comparing them, piece to piece to other consoles. And I know people are going to come in the comments and argue with me on this, but Onyx is a great value across the board for a lot of options. That's why, honestly, we recommend it so much. And the software is good, and they keep updating it and adding good things in that people want and are asking for, including some really cool stuff that's coming soon. And, that's why we like it so much. Now, what about Grand MA, right? Grand MA is at a whole different price level than something like Onyx. And so you go, when does it make sense to get into a Grand MA 2 or 3 system, right? 3 being obviously the current now, 2 still being used a lot in the industry. When it's time to move up to a system like that is, I would argue, if you're working with a lot of professional freelance LDs and it's not a consistent batch of the same people, then, let's face it, Grand MA is the most accepted, the most common console among professional lighting designers that they're comfortable and used to using. If you're doing a lot of touring type work, specifically on the higher end, the cloning process in MA, the things it can do with macros, the multi-console environment is just honestly second to none, right? So if you find yourself in that environment where you say, we use a lot of these pro LDs, they're used to MA, it is their go-to, and you're doing these kind of larger shows where either you need a really good multi-console environment, you need some distributed processing, etc., then it may be worth considering going with MA. And yes, we're dealers for MA too. We'd love to help get that into your hands. But it's not something to take lightly because, when you talk about return on investment on a console, whether you're a church and we're talking about, your budget versus the amount of hours it takes someone to program, whether you're, rental, etc., justifying a console that costs 3 or 4 times what something like Onyx or Camsys or Avo or Hog cost, there's got to be a good reason to do so. Okay. One of the other reasons why, too, that we love Onyx so much is they have an awesome, really simple to use pixel mapping engine called Dylos in there, which is insane. Pretty much everybody that touches it, they come back saying, hey, this kind of beats everything else out there and allows you to do some great stuff on your lights. So, all that to say, that's how you choose a professional grade lighting console. First, you want to make sure it's the right fit, that you should be professional grade instead of going with something a little simpler. Usually that means you're hitting your head against the wall with something a little simpler. You're finding you want to do a lot more complex programming, change things around for different shows, cloning, etc. Once you decide that, then it's time to figure out what the right one is for you. Of course, as I mentioned, we love Onyx, and for a lot of our customers, it's an excellent fit. For some of our customers, they want to be in the MA world. And there's very good reasons for that. As I mentioned, you just have to be aware that, you're going to pay significantly more. There are some benefits there. The question is, do those benefits really matter in your organization? Excuse me. And if you're struggling through this, you're not sure what to get, hey, over at aboveavl.com, we can help. If you're in the US and you're looking to purchase any of these things, just reach out to our gear team. Gear at aboveavl.com. We'll make sure that's on the screen, or add some stuff to your cart and request a quote. We love to help you find whether something's right for you or not, and help you get the right thing in your hands. So if that sounds good, then experience the difference. We've got real, friendly, knowledgeable techs who work. Actually, all of our salespeople have 0 sales background, because at the end of the day, we're not trying to make a slick sale, but we're trying to serve you for now and the decades to come. If that sounds good, we'll see you over at aboveavl.com. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.